Hey, y'all, football season's here. First day of fall camp for at least the Tennessee Vols. And we're 1 month basically away from college football kicking off for most teams. So we got a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of football to talk about. And so this video here is the SEC Power Rankings to kick off fall camp here. Now, guys, it's really hard to do a preseason power rankings because we've not really seen them play that first game. We're just going on speculation. We're going on what is coming back, what production is coming back. So it's hard to do this, but I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to go 16-1 on every SEC team. I'm going to put them where I think they are, and I'm going to give you a quick summary on why I put them where I did. So without further ado, let's start with the team at number 16 on this list, and that is Kentucky. Now, Kentucky had a horrible year last year, and I honestly don't think it's going to be any better this year. I think this team is about a max 4-win team, maybe 5, but really they're probably going to win about 4 games this year. They lost some key playmakers in Barry and Brown, who went to LSU, and then they had Dane Key, who went to Nebraska. They got a new quarterback. Longtime assistant has left the program, and Mark Stoops, in my opinion, is a dead man walking. The only reason he even come back this year is because his contract buyout was too much, but this will be his last year. I don't see any way he is going to be able to escape into 2026. So for at least right now, I got Kentucky at number 16. Number 15 is Mississippi State. Mississippi State last year was the worst SEC team. They did not pick up one SEC victory, but they played a brutal schedule last year, and they got another brutal schedule this year. I do think they're going to be a little bit better, and offensively, they were decent last year. I think they'll be decent this year as well, but again, that tough schedule, there's really no breaks on that schedule. I think if Jeff Lebby gets to 5 wins, it would be a really good year for Mississippi State, just to be honest with you. It'll probably be a long season down there in Starkville, but it'll be interesting to see how they do, how they progress in year 2 for Jeff Lebby. But for right now, I got Mississippi State at number 15. Number 14 is Arkansas. Now, I will say I've got them really low, but I do think there is potential there to be way higher on this list, especially if Taylor Green can play to his potential, because he is immensely talented, but the guy is prone to turnovers and doing really dumb stuff. A lot of games they lost last year because of it's his turnover issues. So they are losing a lot of production from last year. Armstrong, who the receiver, had over 1,100 yards receiving. You had Jackson, who I think he had like 800 yards rushing. He's gone. So they're losing some key players. They're losing some key defensive players. It's a tough schedule, but I will say, if Taylor Green can have a great year, I could definitely see Arkansas moving up on this list. And Sam Pittman, it's kind of the same thing at Kentucky with Mark Stoops. I think he's a dead man walking. Unless he gets to about 7 or 8 wins, he's gone. And I think with that schedule, that's kind of a bit much. But anyway, for right now, I've got Arkansas at 14. And at 13, I've got Vanderbilt. Kind of crazy to say Vanderbilt's at 13 because they're not really supported like most big-time programs are in the SEC. They don't really have the money or the facilities to compete, but they had a really successful season last year. They had 7 wins if you include the bowl game. Diego Pavia is the main reason why. He just come in and he showed out, and he's cocky. He's got bravo. Got a couple key playmakers coming back on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, over 75% of production's coming back offensively. Over 75% of the production is coming back. Now, this is the thing, though, Vandy. You ain't sneaking up on anybody this year, and you all have really ran your mouth in the offseason saying you're going to run the state, stuff like this. So everybody is going to have your full attention this year. So you better be able to back it up. But for right now, you have my respect, and I've got you at 13. And now at number 12, I've got Missouri. The only thing Missouri has got going for it is a couple things. They've got a pretty darn decent defense, and they have a schedule that's favorable. It's probably the most favorable schedule in the SEC. But offensively, they're going to really struggle. A new quarterback. They lose Brady Cook. That guy was a really solid quarterback for about 3 years for them. Lose Luther Burden. Lose Theo Weiss. So, I think, I think probably the max for Missouri, even with that schedule, is about 7 wins. But I will say Dorkowitz, I call him Dorkowitz instead of Drinkowitz, but anyway, because he's always saying stupid stuff. But I do think he's done a pretty darn good job when he's not running his mouth and saying dumb stuff. He is a pretty good coach. And I do think he's done a great job down there at Missouri. We'll see what happens with them. If they win a game here and there, who knows? They might be able to get to 8 wins. But I do think this is a rebuilding season for Missouri, and I got them at 12 right now. Now at number 11 is Auburn. Now I'm going to tell you, when you look at Auburn's roster, it's not that bad. They're pretty solid. I like that offensive line. They got a solid defense. But they got a quarterback coming in Jackson Arnold, who I'm not a big fan of. I do not think he has what it takes to be a big-time SEC quarterback. And I heard rumblings that, Hugh Freeze was even telling his defense to not really touch him, not to rattle him, to ruin his confidence. So if that's true, that's not a good sign. Hugh Freeze is really, really relying on Jackson Arnold to have a big year. The natives down there are restless. They are sick of him, not really doing a good job in recruiting. And they have underperformed the last couple of years as well. So Hugh Freeze needs a good year. I think, honestly, if he doesn't get to about 8 wins, he may get fired this year. So I like Auburn. I think they're talented. I think they're a team that could spoil a lot of people's seasons. They have the potential to win 8 or 9 games, honestly. But I don't have a lot of faith in Jackson Arnold, so that's why I've got them this low. But they have the possibilities of being much higher on this list. But right now I've got Auburn at number 11. And now number 10. Now, I'm going to say number 10 through number 6 on this list, they're basically about even. You can make a case for any of these teams flip-flopping in front of the other, but I've got South Carolina at number 10. This is a team that ended up winning 9 games in the regular season. They just had a Cinderella year, and honestly, they could have had 10 wins if they were not robbed by an official in the LSU game last year. When basically the defensive end Kennard hit the quarterback Nussmeier, and they called the TD back, but it was not roughing. He's basically blocking for his fellow teammate to run down the field. It was a horrible call. It didn't cost South Carolina the game. They would have had 10 wins, but South Carolina is they're a great team this year. It's just they've got such a tough schedule, and I do think they take like a step back on defense, even though you got Stewart back from defensive end. He was the best SEC freshman easily on defense last year from that defensive end standpoint, but they're losing Kennard on the other end. They're losing some linebackers. They're losing Rocket Sanders at the running back. I think, and here's the thing too, they're not going to slip up on anybody this year. I think South Carolina might take a small step back, but this team with Lenore Sellers leading this team, they could win 10 games. So I do think they're about an 8-win team right now, South Carolina, and I've got them at number 10. At number 9, I got Florida. Now, this is a solid football team. Great offensive line. I'm a big fan of DJ Lagway. Defensively, they're okay, but offensively, I really like this team. I like the wide receivers that are on this team, and they could make a lot of noise. Again, Florida has such a brutal schedule, and the other thing that concerns me about Florida is DJ Lagway. This dude cannot stay injury-free. He's all the time injured, and they got nothing back there that can really, if you plug it in, it's going to be successful. They have a walk-on, a backup walk-on, and they got Harrison Bailey, and both, in my opinion, are not good at all. If it gets down to them, it's a wash for the season. Florida's not going to do anything. But with DJ Lagway, this is a 9-win team possibly. Honestly, even with that schedule, that's how much I think of DJ Lagway. So for right now, I've got Florida at 9. You could make an argument to put them all the way up to 6, in my opinion. But for right now, I've got Florida at number 9. At number 8, I've got the Tennessee Vols. Now, Tennessee, defensively, in my opinion, could be a top 10 defensive team this year. They're loaded. Even though the defensive line is not as deep as it was last year, they're still pretty darn deep. They still got two groups that they're going to be able to rotate in. The linebackers are solid. They're all back. Secondary might be the best secondary in the SEC, maybe outside of Texas or Georgia. So really, really solid. It's like a A defensive team. Honestly, now offensively is where the issue is. We lose Nico Iamaleava, which I'm not just saying this because he's gone, but he's not that big a loss, honestly. But the problem is we didn't have time to go out and get a real proven quarterback. Now, Joey Aguilar, he's thrown for over 7,000 yards the last 2 years, but he's prone to interceptions. And we're replacing the whole offensive line. Wide receivers are improving. So there's a lot of questions on the offensive side of this team. So this team, the ceiling could be 10 wins, but they could only win 7 games too. I could see a lot of different scenarios. Tennessee's schedule is manageable. I do think it sets up nice for them, but there's a lot of tough games as well. But I've got Tennessee at number 8. Number 7, I've got Ole Miss. Austin Simmons is coming back for his 3rd year. Now, he played behind Jackson Dart, but when he played, this guy was very, very impressive. I really liked watching him. Watched him come in that Georgia game. He played really well, and some other times that he's been in games, I thought he played well. He knows Lane Kiffin's offense very well. He is losing some key wide receivers who were studs, and defensively, Ole Miss, who was the number 1 rush defense in the country in 2024, I think they're not going to be as talented and as solid as they were last year. But this still is a team that Lane Kiffin has recruited very, very well, and he's done really good in the portal with. They're going to be about a 9-win team. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of 50-50 games on that schedule. If they can flip them, who knows what they can happen. But right now I've got Ole Miss at number 7. I got Texas A&M at number 6. Texas A&M is a very talented team, but the question with Texas A&M is, can they throw the football down the field? Last year they were 87th in passing offense. You got Marcel Reed coming back at quarterback, and they went out here in the portal. And they got some Casey Concepcion, who was at NC State. They picked him up out of the portal. Guy's a stud. This is an instant difference maker at wide receiver. Defensively, they're returning over 2/3 of that defense that started last year. Even though the defense wasn't great last year, they're all back. So I think they're going to be largely improved on the defensive side. Le'Veon Moss at running back is coming back. The dude had 800 yards rushing after he was injured in the 9th game of the season last year. He is a great running back, and he's back. So Texas A&M, if they can fix a couple things, for example, if they can throw the ball better, Texas A&M is a 10-win team. They are a playoff type team, but they got to do some things better. Marcel Reed has to show that he can throw the ball down the field effectively and be accurate. But if they can do some things, this A&M team can beat anybody. Now at number 5, this is kind of a trendy pick, and I'm kind of hopping on this train here of the momentum that Oklahoma has, and Oklahoma I think is going to be a lot better. You know what Brent Venables is going to do on the defensive side. They were really good last year. They were a top 20 defense last year. They're going to be just as good this year defensively. They're returning a lot of guys on defense, especially on that defensive line. And offensively, even though their offensive line's not great, they do have those guys coming back. So they're not going to be near as bad as they were last year. They got a good running back room. A lot of those receivers that didn't play last year or who were injured last year, they're back. Hopefully they won't get injured this year. And then the main thing is they brought in John Mateer from Washington State and his offensive coordinator to run that offense. Offensively, I really expect Oklahoma to be a lot better. And honestly, it's not going to take much because Oklahoma last year offensively was awful. So with that solid defense, And a good offense like Oklahoma I think is going to have this year. I think Oklahoma could be a top 15, top 10 team all year long, and that says a lot in the SEC because it's a tough road. And I'm going to tell you, Oklahoma has a tough schedule. It is brutal. So they're not going to have any weeks off this year. They're going to have to earn it. So Oklahoma at number 5. Number 4, LSU. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in Brian Kelly, but I'll tell you who I do have a lot of faith in, and that's Garrett Nussmeier. Dude threw for over 4,000 yards last year. Defensively, LSU is going to be a lot better this year. And so we'll see what happens. They got a tough schedule too. They got to open the season up at Clemson. So let's see what happens there. They got to go to Bama. And so there's a lot of tough games on LSU's schedule. They got to host South Carolina. They got to go, I think, to Oklahoma this year. So there's a lot of tough games. I think they got to play A&M. So tough schedule, but LSU has the tools to be a playoff team this year. I love Garrett Nussmeier. I think their defense is going to be much improved, and I think LSU is a top 10 top team, honestly. So LSU at 4. Number 3, Alabama. Alabama might have one of the best defenses in the country coming back. A lot of production coming back on that defensive side. Jam Miller, Ryan Williams on offense are going to be some studs. They've got the potential to be first team all SEC top players. And Kalen DeBoer in this second year with more of a team he's more comfortable with, I think offensively they're going to be a lot better too. So Ty Simpson, I think he's going to be the starter. How does he do? How does he look? I think he's going to be just fine. I don't know if he is going to be Joe Burrow or Cam Newton, but I do think he'll be solid. And he's not going to need much because that offensive line for Alabama is going to be able to open up holes, in my opinion, for Jam Miller. I think they're going to give him a lot of time to go down and throw the ball to those talented wide receivers. Alabama, and they've got revenge on their mind this year, Alabama does. They had some really bad losses, and they want revenge. And I think they're going to get that revenge in a lot of these games. Alabama is definitely a playoff team, and they look good going into the 2025 season. Number 2 is Georgia. Now, I think Georgia is more vulnerable this year than they have been in the Kirby Smart era outside of his first year. I've got Georgia so high, honestly, just because of Kirby Smart. I believe in Kirby Smart. I believe in the roster that he has put together because even though there's a lot of guys like on that offensive line that have not played and have not started, they're immensely talented and they're very well coached. Gunnar Stockton is coming back. Now, he doesn't have a lot of experience. He just played in 2 games last year. Like, he played the second half of the Texas game, and then he played against Notre Dame. So he is an older guy. I think he's even though this is his first full season being a starter, this is like the 3rd or 4th year he's been at Georgia. So, he's been around the block. He's not like he's a true freshman right out of high school. He's very poised, very mature, and he's going to have a strong test at him at the 3rd week of the year at Neyland Stadium. First road game. Will be interesting to see how he handles that. Georgia's going to have to be able to run the football, though. They were horrible. I think Georgia last year was like in the hundreds as far as rushing offense. It was the worst I've ever seen Georgia as far as rushing offense. And it's running back you. And they were in the hundreds in rushing offense. So I think Mike Bobo and that Georgia team, they're going to make running the football an emphasis. And I think they'll be much better this year. They've got some playmakers on the wide receiver. I think they've made some additions. They're going to be better at receiver because they can't drop any more balls than they did last year. And I think Georgia has got a really solid team. Again, Georgia might have the toughest schedule in the league, though. I mean, honestly, if they just lose 2 games, that's a great year because that schedule is brutal. So we'll see what happens, but I've got them at number 2. And then Texas is at number 1. Texas's defense is arguably the most talented defense in the country. This defense is scary good. That defensive line, those linebackers, and that secondary are just, there's no flaws. There's no flaws, and they're deep. They can get after you from the defensive end standpoint. They can stop the run. They got an All-American at linebacker coming back, first-team All-American. Secondary is loaded with guys that are first-team All-SEC. And now here is the thing, though. They open up the year against Ohio State. We're gonna see what they're made of. Arch Manning, this is his first year, so there's a lot of hype going into this, this year with this guy. They're paying him almost $7 million in NIL money, and he has a lot of expectations on his shoulder. He's not really done anything yet. He started in 2 games last year, but he played really bad teams. How does he play against quality teams when the lights are bright? He has. Now, I will tell you, I do think the offensive line for Texas takes a step back. The offensive line does. They lose 2 tackles that got drafted in the NFL draft. They need to be able to protect Arch Manning. He gets hurt, they're in trouble. So how do they protect him? I think they do run the ball probably better this year. Their running back room is deeper than it was last year. They had 2 guys that got injured in the preseason. Wide receiver-wise, they're still loaded with talent out there at the wide receiver position. So, Texas doesn't have really many. They don't have really many concerns. They're loaded. So it'll be interesting to see. I've got Texas at number 1. I think the SEC will have at least 4 or 5 teams in the playoff this year. It's as talented as it has ever been. There's nobody that really just is head and shoulders above anybody else, and there's a lot of parity. But anyway, guys, that's my first SEC Power Rankings, and it's going into fall camp for the 2025 season. Thank you guys for listening to me talk about this, and I'll talk to y'all later.